You had your chance and then you blew it.
That is the most absurd statement of the year.
Nice. Nice.
Oh, baby.
I'm in my zone, I'm feeling it.
Live from Rock Solid Studios in Granite Falls, it's time for MinneZona Sports, live with DJ Matty C and Paul the Shield Vold.
And this is MinneZona Sports Live. We are back, yes, for another great show. Oh, it feels so good to be back for another show. And without further ado, I'm your host, DJ Matty C, a.k.a. Matt Kelly, a.k.a. Kelly, a.k.a. Matty C, etc., etc., etc. And all the way from Woods and Shore Studios in Aiken, Minnesota, Paul Vold, the Shield. What's going on there, Shield?
Well, we all know for sure that Governor Tim Walz can't shut us down, so we are feeling pretty good here on a Wednesday. I can't believe it is Wednesday. We're a little over a week away from Christmas Eve, Christmas Day, coming on around the other side of the next week as well. It's crazy, but it's also awesome all at the same time.
It is. It's great. You're in the Christmas spirit, I see, with all the stockings.
Yeah, a little bit.
Just a little, just a touch.
Exactly.
Touch. And looks like we got Zoners chiming in. Boys. As Eric Moser's saying right there.
What's up, Mo's daddy?
So there we go. I mean, we're ready to go. Looks like Eric's ready to go and the Zoners are ready to go because we got a lot to get to today. We got football to talk about. We got even some hockey to talk about. We got A stories from the Zoners. From the Zoners this time. A little bit from Shield, but mostly the Zoners. So that was fun, and we'll probably do it again at some point. But anyway, I think it's time for something that we like to call, I believe it's called Tater Tot. Golly, it's hot. Tater Tot Hot Take. Let's go.
Fresh out of the oven, it's Tater Tot Hot Take.
All right, it's time for some Tater Tot Hot Take. And yes, we are starting off with the one team that we all know, we all love. It's the Minnesota Vikings.
Yep.
A game in which the Minnesota Vikings unfortunately lost to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. But Voldy is kind of impartial about it because, again, TFB and the Vikings, it's hard to choose between your favorite player and then your favorite team as well. So, but for one, the Vikings, I knew this was kind of going to happen because you're down Kendricks, you're down Rudy, you're down all these other guys, and Tampa Bay has so many more weapons than Minnesota at this point in the season. And I think it caught up with the Vikings on Sunday, Voldy. Overall, what are your thoughts on the game? What are your thoughts on TFB? And then, let's get to the Vikings. So, hit me.
Obviously, we were talking about last week about how the offense for the Buccaneers got up to slow starts. Well, it certainly showed like it was going to be a slow start for Tampa Bay. Then they start getting the run game more involved. That's been something that's been a little troublesome for Tampa Bay in pretty much the whole season. When they get down, they stay away from the running game, but they had a pretty even game overall. Tom Brady had gotten a litof time, missed on a couple of deep throws, but was able to connect with Evans, able to connect with Gronk as well for a touchdown, even get some of the other guys involved too as well. But obviously you lose by as much as you did, and unfortunately didn't work out to the Vikings' favor, especially with it being that you lose by 9, and those 9 points and even possibly 10 points in a win off one guy, that being Dan Bailey. But some really nice surprises, of course. Well, maybe not so much a surprise, but good to see Irv Smith Jr. back in the fold and getting his, getting his due as well. CJ Ham had a huge game as well. I mean, you see lots of other guys get in there as well that contribute, but unfortunately, when the one guy in the team supposed to do his one job doesn't help at all, it was a tough game overall for Vikings fans.
It was a tough game, and there were a lot of missed opportunities. And I'm not talking about the kicking right now, because we're going to get to that in a second. But there are a lot of missed opportunities, and I think there are a lot of dumb penalties, too, that the Vikings had. And this was a game where this showed if you were going to be a playoff team or not. And it showed that the Vikings were not, in fact, a playoff team because, again, the injuries to defense, I mean, and then the young corners, guys like that just, there's some stepped up. There are a lot of good things that happened, but there are a lot of things that just didn't mesh. And defensively, when you lose the quarterback of your defense in Kendricks, that definitely hampers it a little bit because Ronald Jones rather, had a pretty good game on the ground.
He did.
I mean, the Vikings held their own a little bit, Voldy, but also I believe that the corners did what they can. I mean, when you have Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, and Clowntonio Brown, you got to cover all those types of guys. And Arians is really good with that offense. And Tom Brady is still a very, very good quarterback. And he definitely picked it apart. And the Vikings kept giving him opportunities. And again, missing the field goals, things like that. So, Brady and the Bucs get up 23-6, I believe. And then now you're playing from behind. And then Kirk, you got to give Kirk some credit here. But Kirk went out there and he brought them within striking distance. But again, the offensive line did not do well against the front four of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And that concerns me a little bit, especially when O'Neal went down. And O'Neal's been a little leaky as of late. But they're going up against a team that definitely is going to use their pass. Todd Bowles is going to send everyone that he can. Dalvin had a good game. He had over 100 yards. He had a touchdown, but it's hard to get back in the game when you have to keep feeding Dalvin, and then also you got to get down the field too. So there's that as well. Our good friend Tyler Knutson, who got us our new stickers as well as bumper stickers. More on that later. But he says, I couldn't watch. Did Winfield Jr. have a good game for the Bucs? He did. He had 12 tackles, I believe. He did a really good job, Antoine Winfield. And, of course, he's going to do well because it's Antoine Winfield Jr. # Fleck Effect. Too much time for Tommy. Yeah, and that, honestly, that's true because there was no pass rush on Tom at whatsoever. There was maybe like 3 QB hurries, but that's about it. And I feel like that's kind of what sunk the Viking ship there. And again, they didn't look like a team that was going to make the playoffs. And I think we kind of know that going in. But let's get to the matter at hand. Voldy, we talked about the game enough. Let's talk about Mr. Dan Bailey, okay?
Oh, yeah.
Before I get to that, though, because Metz is chiming in here. A couple of times Cousins got sacked. He held on to the ball for too long. That's true. I mean, you can... And again, he's not out of the woods for doing that either. And I agree with... He holds on to the ball too long because I'm almost like, throw the damn ball, jeez. But still, I mean, the O-line's got to make sure that they're giving him enough time. And it looks like at times they were, but, JPP's a good pass rusher, man. I mean, he's still good.
Still
even
is.
with, 3-4 fingers or whatever. I don't know. Mm-hmm. But let's get to Dan Bailey, Voldy. 0 for 3 on field goals. Missed every extra point. I mean, we kind of pushed it aside to the Jags game. We're kind of like, okay, maybe he can get on track against Tampa Bay. But that didn't happen. It got worse because every time he went out there, it was, he's not going to make this kick. The second time, I was like, he's not going to make this kick. Third time, not going to make this kick. Not going to make I mean, it's frustrating because this happens to Vikings fans all the damn time. We can never have, besides Ryan Longwell, have a consistent kicker, or Gary Anderson for that matter, but obviously we don't need to talk about the 1998 deal. But Voldy, I got to ask you the question, and I'm going to ask the Zoners this too. Is it time to move on from Dan Bailey and sign a kicker off the market here?
You know, at the beginning of the week, I would have said, yes, it's time. I think it's time to move on, but you're just going through the vicious cycle every couple of years with the Vikings, with Blair Walsh, with Daniel Carlson, who didn't make it out of the first half of the season with the Vikings. Now you throw in the likes of, you throw Dan Bailey in there, who was just literally dropped from the Dallas Cowboys and now right in the lap of the Vikings. I mean, I don't know. Do you part ways? I mean, right now with the way the season's going, I would say no. I don't think you part ways with Dan Bailey. This is just me saying because I'm an idiot. I don't know any better, but I'm just going to go ahead and say, no, you don't part ways with Dan Bailey, because if you do that, it is just going to get much, much worse from here on out. And the next thing you know, I mean, who do you go and pick up is my question. Who's out there that's available besides all us Joe Schmoes who think we can kick a 50, 60-yard field goal? I have no idea.
Well, I mean, there's options, but it's not something to where we're like, we need this guy, or we need this person, we need that person. Because honestly, it's to a point where it's towards the end of the season. But if you still feel like you want to make that playoff push, and it's got to start against the Bears at home. And again, we've struggled against the Bears. We did beat the Bears earlier this season, but this is a crucial game. Yeah, and if you lose this game against the Bears, it's over. I mean, I don't care who you are. I don't care, if you win the next two games. I don't think the Vikings will make the playoffs if they lose to the Bears this week. But, do you, I mean, the question is when this was happening, I thought it was time too. But now I'm backpedaling a little bit. And I'm looking at this situation a little bit closer. And we're 3 games left. And if it's time, then, Zim, go ahead and do it. That's fine with me. They're not committed on him right now. Listen to the press conferences. Listen to what he just said today. He goes, I'm not sold on it. So, I don't know. It's going to be interesting. But Cole brings up a good point here. You can't cut him because you would be swallowing dead money for cutting a kicker. Well, you might have... Well, here's the thing, though. You might have no choice but to do that. So, which is... It sucks, but that's just how it is. That's just how it is here. And these guys... I mean, Dan Bailey probably knows right now, but I feel like if Dan Bailey is put in the right mindset... And the thing is, Hunts brings up a good point, because I was going into this. This is a perfect segue. Ryan Longwell said the Vikings need to keep Bailey, and he believes he will figure it out. Let me get to that, because I read that article today. With Ryan Longwell. And, hell, if Ryan Longwell says that it's an easy fix, I trust him, because Ryan Longwell was one of the best Viking kickers of all time. I mean, he was with Green Bay before, but he came over to the good side. But if he thinks that it just needs a little tweak and everything, Vikings, you call up Ryan Longwell right now and you sign him to be a coach to help Dan Bailey. How about that? Or just say, you know what, you're cut. We're going to put in Ryan Longwell. Just kidding. But still, I think that's not out of the realm of possibility just to say, if it's an easy fix, he can gain his confidence back. He can go out there and not have to worry about... He's at home now. So, I mean... If it goes wrong this week, it's time. I mean, you cannot let this continue. You cannot let this continue, especially when you are still in the playoff hunt. So we'll have to see what happens. Talk him into an IR spot? Yeah, okay. We'll see how that goes. With COVID protocol, it would take a week to bring in a new kicker, and nobody else is really out there except for Vinatieri. Yeah, I did see that. Someone did mention that about Vinatieri, and I'm like, well, shoot, maybe that can work. And, Hunt's is saying, too, Voldy, is that, Dan Bailey is the second best accurate kicker in NFL history. You just have to believe he can fix it. You're not wrong on that. But the thing is, I think if they keep him, I'm totally fine with it. If they release him, then okay, this is how it is. Yeah, you can kind of chalk it up as that.
I mean, if the Vikings lose to Chicago, season's over.
Yep.
There's no way they're making the playoffs unless by some miracle, and this is Minnesota sports, no miracles happen in our once in a very, very blue moon that something actually goes Minnesota sports' way to where it actually benefits for the future. I highly doubt if they lose this Sunday to, Chicago, it's over. Then you got the Bears on 5 days' notice. You got the Bears Sunday, then you play New Orleans on Christmas Day. That's going to be brutal. That's a hell of a turnaround.
It's brutal. And again, you're taking on the Aints. Drew Brees, I believe, is getting back healthy too. So.
Oh, of course. Just in time.
Oh, yay. But again, we'll have to see. Season is already over, Peter Farley says. What up, Peter? Won't beat the Aints.
True.
We said that last year with the wild card game, so I just want to bring that up. We did say that last year that the Vikings were probably going to lose that game, but maybe we'll just keep saying it if things turn around. So, but again, I think we're under the consensus. Even if they do lose, I'm trying to keep a little hope just because I'm trying to remain optimistic. But I feel like they can win, but I think when they take on the Aints, it's going to be a different story. So, more on that during the week, so we'll see what happens. Voldy, we're moving on to college hockey. Now,
yes, sir.
I know this was
that there is.
Controversial last week because we didn't get to the Gophers talk. The thing is I was waiting to spring this on to the Zoners tonight because not only is Voldy not a big Gopher hockey guy, but he is a very big UND hockey guy, okay? So we cut it in. We cut it into Gophers, which will kind of be sticking to me, and then UND, okay? So, Zoners, the first thing we got to talk about is the Golden Gophers, I believe, are number 1 right now. Isn't that crazy, Voldy? And I know your response to this would be, well, it's good. There's no fans right now. Of course they're doing
trash. It's a trash ranking that the Gophers are number 1. We'll talk about. I'll let you finish your point before I finish my point.
Yeah, then I'm going to bring it back to you in a sec because again, I'm just saying the Gophers right now they're 8-0. I'm going to say their goaltending has been. LaFontaine's been tremendous in the net. They haven't trailed in any of their games that they've won, which is great. Motzko has done a fantastic job with the Golden Gopher hockey team, and this is what the Golden Gophers need is a really good team. And Motzko, he comes in, I believe he's like 4 years in or something like that, and he's finally kind of turning this around, which is great. And also for one, I got to shout out one person too, Robbie Stucker. I have watched him play at St. Thomas Academy, repping STA. He is a great hockey player, and hopefully he gets a little bit healthy, from what I understand. And the Gophers got a good get in Robbie Stucker, so shout out to him. And looks like Metz is hating on the Gophers a little bit. The Gophers play no one in the Big Ten. Well, 8-0. 8-0 is still good. Well, Metz. The thing is, I want to say, though, Metz is a Packers fan, but he's all Minnesota after that, which is interesting to me. That's a little interesting to me. But the point is that we'll see what happens after, after Christmas and whatnot when they get back into it. But you got to be impressed of what, how they've done so far, and hopefully it continues. So, Voldy, your thoughts? It's
very easy to be 8-0 when you play trash teams in a trash conference. The Big Ten Hockey Conference is a joke of college hockey. They play absolutely nobody. The only reason why the Big Ten Hockey Conference is existing because two donors donated millions of dollars to Penn State to start a Division I men's hockey program, thus creating the Big Ten Hockey Conference. I've had an issue with this since day one. That act alone ruined two great college hockey conferences. The WCHA, the Western Collegiate Hockey Association, and also the CCHA, which Ohio State, Michigan State, and Michigan were playing in prior to playing in the Big Ten.
Sure.
Yes, obviously the Gophers do have some players that have contributed big ways. They got that transfer from Michigan, that being Jack LaFontaine, who has been a stalwart in the net for the Gophers to get them to 8-0 on the season. But let's be honest, when you're playing, they've played 8 games. That's the first half of their season. That's going to take them all the way to mid-January right now in the number 1 ranking. Let's see them actually play some real teams. And an actual hockey conference is the NCHC, which the University of North Dakota is in, and they are always near the top. They were number 1 ranked up until this past week. They're playing teams like Miami of Ohio, Denver, Western Michigan, Minnesota Duluth, St. Cloud State. Those are real teams that they're playing up against, and you cannot take a night off in the NCHC, and it's showing. 4-2-1 in the 8 games that they played down in Omaha in the NCHC pod in Omaha, and that's how it turned out. Obviously they got off to a good start. Little bit rocky, but unfortunately for North Dakota, didn't work in their favor. They get a nice 6-3 win. They are playing St. Cloud State right now, as it currently is coming up, actually, down in Omaha too. But I mean, come on. Obviously, number 1, it has something, but it's a tainted ranking in my mind. The Gophers are not good. If they play in the NCHC, they would be in the bottom of the conference ever since it was created. And this wouldn't be a problem if Penn State would have just kept their damn mouth shut and not have a hockey team in the first place. It would have been just fine. It would have been able to still go to the WCHA Final 5 each and every year at the XL Energy Center and have a ball of a time each and every year with all the guys that me, my dad, my brother, and all his old softball buddies would go down there for the conference tournament. Sure. Those were some great memories overall. But now we're just watching and seeing the trash that is with the Big Ten Conference.
There you go. That's the spiel on it. Another thing I want to bring up, too, before we move on to UND, because I want an update from you about that. It's the first time the Gophers have been ranked in either poll from the USCHO.com, the Division I's men poll. 34 out of 40 first place votes and 786 total points. Later moved to the top spot, USA Today, USA Hockey Magazine, yada, yada, yada. Which bugs you more, this or the NBA, Voldy?
All of the above. Trash begets trash. Yeah, that's the saying.
There's that. But hey, you got to give credit where credit's due right now. You have to.
Sure.
Let's see what Mets has got. Oh my gosh, this is crazy. They got a lot of people chiming in. I like this.
Good.
Miss the days, the old WCHA, when you would have multiple line brawls. Yeah, that's true too.
And that's another reason why Minnesota doesn't even play North Dakota anymore. The best rivalry in college hockey, bar none.
Yep.
Those were some great games.
Bingo. Voldy has no passion on this topic. Winky face from the Kerf Doctor. So there you go, Voldy. But let's move on to UND because we got to be fair to you, Voldy, and they're starting off pretty good, 4-2-1. It looks like they've been dealing with a lot of injuries right now, and with COVID and everything like that. So 4-2-1's not a bad start. They lost to Denver, and Denver's usually a pretty good hockey team if I remember correctly. UND's always kind of in the running there. So, Voldy, what are your thoughts on the Fighting Hawks?
Yeah, that's a different story within itself.
Yeah.
But yeah, North Dakota's gotten off to a good start. I mean, obviously last year they were the number one ranked team. They got robbed of a national championship as well. A lot of the guys that were going to go pro are back this year, of course, being led by somebody who got robbed of the Hobie Baker Award, the college hockey Heisman Trophy, if you will, Jordan Kawaguchi, and he was robbed of that title, but he's back for another year, and he's picking up right where he left off. Just became, I believe, the 7th or the 8th guy to score 100 career points in a North Dakota uniform. He's a senior as well for this year, and a lot of the guys that are back from last year, including the likes of Jacob Bernard Docker, who is a defenseman, and he's also a junior going there. Shane Pinto, you got Mark Senden as well, Grant Mismash. A really good, strong connective and collective that is back for another year as well. Then you start to throw in some of the guys that have played juniors. They're basically 19, 21-year-old freshmen coming in as well. The experience is there for North Dakota, but obviously they do have to go through a bit of a goaltending situation as well. They got a Peter Tomey in net as well. He's a Minneapolis kid, played at Waterloo in the USHL. Sure. Another, that they have down in Waterloo overall. But yeah, I mean, we're talking about the fact that, 4-2-1, had a couple of rough games, especially against Denver. Duluth has always been a tough team that they've always played against as well. They ended up losing in a shootout with a 3-3 tie down in Omaha, but they're playing St. Cloud State tonight as well. That's another team that's always given North Dakota troubles as well. But obviously, there's a really good dynamic coming back for North Dakota, and I think they're definitely in the best position right now to, make another serious run. It's always at the end of the year that always makes it interesting. I always look at, especially when they won the national championship in 2016, they weren't the best team overall. They weren't the number one ranked team. Right. Because at the end of the year, you don't want to be ranked number one. That's in my mind, because that team never wins a national championship. You want to be the team that's maybe like third, fourth, maybe fifth best. You're in the mix. You're a good team, but nobody thinks that you can make the full run. That's where North Dakota needs to be. They're kind of in that spot right now, but obviously losing the number one ranking last week kind of hurt a little bit to Minnesota. But I think North Dakota's the better team in position right now than, say, some team like the Gophers.
There you go. And it looks like from them taking on St. Cloud State right now, they lost to them this past Saturday, 3-5. So hey, time to batten down the hatches and get back on track. So we'll see what happens with UND. But I wanted to bring that up because I believe that we got something going here with Minnesota and UND. So we'll have to keep in touch with that and keep you guys informed and see what happens. So. Again, another fun topic to get through for Tater Tot Hot Take. But, Voldy, it's been a while since we did this segment, and it is time for the North Remembers. That number 4 jersey reminds me of the good old days, but this wasn't the best good old days because it was a season where it was called Unfinished Business, and it turned into an abysmal disaster. So it's time to reflect on that 2010 season and also the 2010 dome collapse as well. So it is time for the North Remembers.
These are the moments enshrined in Minnesota sports history. The North Remembers.
All right, it's time for the North Remembers. This is a topic, and again, I want to reiterate because I think some of our zoners got a little confused because they're like, wait, 2009? Wait, are we already getting to that point? No, we are saving that one.
Ew.
Okay, we are saving that one. There's a lot to get through with that season, especially that dreaded game, NFC Championship game, but we're not going to get to that. Anyway, I just want to show you what we have with our our little graphic that we put together. Obviously, Favre in just disarray, the dome collapsing, and everything that happened that season. Voldy and I were talking about this before the show because there are names on there that we haven't heard from in a long time.
Crazy.
So, I mean, we'll get to that in a second because I feel like, we should start off by, obviously the disappointment of the NFC Championship game in 2009. We're not going to get into it because, again, I could go all night. But Voldy, they start off against the team that they lost to in the NFC Championship game. And I thought, when I was back in high school, I thought this was a perfect opportunity for the Vikings to say, we're going to beat you guys and we're going to get over that. Well, that didn't happen. They lost to the Aints. And again, I was kind of peeved about that. But the Vikings went on and they went against the Miami Dolphins. And I went to that game. I believe myself and Papa Callahan went to that game. And it just, you're supposed to beat that team. And that team wasn't very good. Them going to 0-2 really took things into a different direction. And people start to question what's going on, things like that. Is Favre still the same? Is the defense still good? I mean, they're okay, but then, things just kind of went in a different direction. They beat the Lions, but then the Vikings make a move, and they pick up none other than straight cash, homie, Randy Moss from the New England Patriots. So that was an interesting deal. That didn't work out too well. I mean, it just, apparently Moss was just very controversial. After the season, I believe Brad Childress Foldy said he threw up on the locker room, and it was just, everyone thought it was going to be the difference maker with Harvin and Rice and Moss now, but that wasn't the case. And they tried to go out there and make a splash, and that didn't happen. So, getting away from the Moss thing and everything like that, and then Hunt's is saying right now, at least we got U.S. Bank Stadium built faster out of it, and that's true. That's a good point.
This is true.
So I give you credit for that. But I won't go through every game, but I think the key was Brett Favre being injured and also, just not being the same. And it wasn't the same. It wasn't the same Vikings team I saw back in 2009. And, again, this was the year that Childress did get fired. And, again, I was at that game with my dad against the Packers, and they got blown out 31-0. And Childress was gone the next day. So, again, it must have been bad luck or something. So they finished. So, obviously, everything snowballs. I mean, everything goes sideways. And it was a season in which we thought this was going to turn around. They're going to be back in the NFC Championship. Maybe even in the Super Bowl, because they got, and I will say, they got robbed of that Super Bowl berth. But, Voldy, what are your thoughts on that season?
Well, obviously, you start off the year, there's a lot of, weird moments I remember from that year. Because I have one of those memories. I don't remember all the big stuff. I remember the stuff between the stuff. Of course, the game against New Orleans to start off the year, they start with the Super Bowl celebration that they had because the Saints won the Super Bowl that past year. Harry Connick Jr. sings "The Saints Are Marching In" with the Super Bowl trophy in hand. Before the game even starts, there was the trouble with the collective bargaining agreements, like the team captains or whatever put up the number 1 on their way onto the field or stuff like that. That's stuff that I remember. Then you get Randy Moss in the mix. You thought that was going to be the difference. He had a couple of nice moments. He got Brett Favre's, 500th career touchdown Monday night against the New York Jets. Lost them 29-20 somehow that year against. It's crazy. It's crazy how that whole season turned out overall. Then you go to New England, you end up losing 28-18. Then you go further down. The last 4 weeks of the season is what I remember. Obviously, the dome collapses before the game against the New York Giants. I was supposed to go to that game. That was like an early birthday present game as well, or is the week after. It was the week after, maybe against the Chicago Bears. Obviously, it was supposed to be at home against Chicago. They end up having to go and play at TCF Bank Stadium. In a span of, I was trying to do the math off the top of my head, a span of 22 days, they play 4 games. They were supposed to play Sunday against the Giants, end up playing Monday in Detroit against the Giants, turn around the following Monday against the Chicago Bears at TCF Bank Stadium in the cold. Field wasn't even remotely ready. Then you play a Tuesday night because the weather was so bad in Philly. They had to play Tuesday night. Who was the starting quarterback for the Vikings that night? Not this guy. Joe flippin' Webb was the starting QB in that one. And just I think it was Munson or somebody who brought it up, maybe even Peter it was Peter who brought up the self-proclaimed dream team in Philly because they were going to go all the way that year. They lay an egg with Mike Vick at quarterback and lose to the Vikings on a Tuesday night. Then the season closes out in a weird one. The Vikings lose 20-13 against the Detroit Lions on a Sunday in what was Brett Favre's final appearance, but he didn't even get to play, and it was just the last 4 weeks of the season is what I remember, just because of the sheer absurdity that was that entire year.
Yeah, and I think pretty much what capsulated it was the dome collapsing. And again, I remember watching the video of it, and again, zoners, tell me this too. Did anybody notice that there was a cart that was going full speed ahead to get the hell out of there? I mean, I would be doing that too, but I just think that was probably one of the one thing I remember watching that video is a cart just getting the hell out of there.
Yeah, that's a bad night at the office. I mean, who do you call? Hey guys, there's a hole in the roof. Yeah, real funny, Mike. Yeah. You're hilarious. No, guys, there's a hole in the roof. There's snow everywhere. It's like, look, I know this is a night shift. Yeah, exactly. Who do I call in that situation? Yeah. I'd be like, nope, wasn't here. Was in the bathroom. I swear. Come back out. Snow all over the field. Hole in the roof. I don't know what happened.
I think people were even joking, too, that they could just rip it off and just play outside. But it was like negative whatever it was because it's Minnesota and it's freaking cold all the time. It was
frosty that weekend. Yeah. I remember that, too. I think I was in St. Cloud that weekend. It was just as bad up there.
And it's so much. It was so cold. Then Favre's former team goes on to win the Super Bowl that year. You had to bring that up because I was hoping nobody would, but Metz is probably the only person that would bring that up. Of course, that happens. That guy said he thought he was dying that morning in the recent video the Vikings released. Oh, my God.
I haven't watched that yet. I got to watch that. I'll probably do that after the show here.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I would think so, too. I mean, if the roof's collapsing and everything like that, I'd be getting the hell out of there. And just the snow, I mean, and all that snow that came down, too. I mean, it's just even crazier. And I think Hunt's mentioned this at the beginning of the segment, is that it got U.S. Bank Stadium built a little bit faster because, I mean, the Vikings, I think the next season or a couple seasons after that, their lease was up. Like, they were done at the Metrodome. So, I mean, it's just crazy how that happened. He said it sounded like a bomb went off, and I believe it. I believe it, 100%. And another kind of interesting tidbit here, too, Voldy. I got a piece of that dome, which is, hey, there you go. I mean, a lot of people got the, seats and everything like that. I wish I was able to get one of those, but I missed my chance. But I have fond memories of the Metrodome, even though it, just went through. One, Jared Allen. There's a couple quotes here from the Vikings, from Minnesota or Vikings.com. Guys coming into the hotel from their houses. Weather would be a concern, but never did you think that the game would be canceled because of a blizzard. And again, of course, blizzard. I mean, you're in a dome, right? So weather's never even in the forecast for the game plan. And then that happens, and then you have to go to Detroit, which, again, probably the next best option. But then you go to Detroit and you lose. And, that was just kind of how it was. And, Spielman was there at the time, too. You knew there was potentially snow, but that's almost every day in Minnesota during December and January. Living up here for as long as me and my family have lived here, I don't know if anyone anticipated when they said the blizzard-like conditions. It's almost the norm up here. It is. I mean, it's pretty much that in a nutshell. But I'm glad that, no one got hurt and everything like that. But I think this was time for the Vikings to, get a new place because they definitely needed it. Play a couple years at TCF Bank Stadium, and that was great because then you got to see some cool moments. I mean, yeah, we lost to, to those Seahawks in that 2015 wild card game, but again, we're gonna stick with this with 2010. I mean, basically, I think we can all agree that the dome collapsing was pretty much how the Viking seasons went. It was really good in 2009, but again, it just came falling down on them at the wrong time, and It's unfortunate because I really thought, Voldy, that they were going to get back to where they were. And it's sad. It was really sad for me. And again, it took a couple of years for the Vikings to even get back to, a comparable team because the next year you go out and you get McNabb, and that was just a train wreck, absolute train wreck. And it just didn't work out well for the Vikings. And, you miss Favre, but Favre was beat up, man. And I blame that on that 2009 NFC Championship game with that damn Greg Williams and that stupid Jonathan Vilma, too. Makes my blood boil. The dome collapsing is I remember where I was moment. Exactly, Mets. So it's one of those moments that we wish we could forget. But, again, you're going to have bad seasons. You're going to have things unexpected happen. So that's kind of what it was. 2010 in a nutshell for the Minnesota Vikings. I'm just glad we can just move on from this and just kind of, see, I wanted to talk about this, because this was unfinished business. This was the year where the Vikings were going to, come back and do well and whatnot, but they didn't. They really didn't. One last Zoner chiming in here. Never wanted Favre to win wearing purple because if the Vikings did win a Super Bowl with Favre, every Packer fan would say, see, it took one of our guys to win you a Super Bowl. Couldn't live with that, question mark.
There is some logic with that, Pat. There is some very strong logic with that.
He had his best season with the Vikings. He did have his best season with the Vikings.
This is true.
Just saying. But still, I mean, defensively, the Williams wall. You can't forget that. The Williams wall. Oh, by the way, that Grey Duck vodka guy, Voldy, you remember him?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, he likes our show. Ben Lieber, guys like that. Medea Williams, Jamarcus Sanford, guys like that. I mean, it's just crazy. All the names that are Jeff Dugan, you were saying, Voldy. I mean, that was a interesting. Percy Harvin, Mr. Headaches. And Sidney Rice, I believe, left after the season. Joe Webb played, and then T-Jack played, R.I.P. T-Jack. I mean, AP had over 1,000 yards, 12 touchdowns that year, so, he still had a good year, but overall, it wasn't meant to be. Ryan Longwell had a great year as well. Maybe he wants to come kick for the Vikings. No, but yeah, it's a bummer, but that's how it is sometimes, so. Anyway, I think that's going to do it for the North Remembers. I appreciate the Zoners chiming in on this. It was not a fond memory, but hey, that's just how it is. We had to talk about it because it was the 10-year anniversary on December 12th, which is just crazy to me. So, but anyway, Voldy, it's time for the Zoners. It's the Zoners have given us stories from this past week. ARA, Zoners, choose. So, Voldy, let's get it going with everybody's favorite segment. Absurd or approved.
It's time for everyone's favorite segment, Absurd or approved?
All right, Voldy, our zoners submitted a raise. So, Voldy, why don't you rattle them off for us, please?
Well, we do have to go to start off absurd or approved. Of course, we're talking about Stefon Diggs once again. And this one coming from our good pal Aaron Madsen, who was steering us in the right direction.
Hey.
Talking about Diggs' comments about the fallout with the Vikings. For the first time, he's finally come out and said some things about the situation that ended with the Vikings being, him being traded in this offseason to the Buffalo Bills, saying that he was never really too vocal about it, saying that in the end things worked out for the Vikings at least and for the Bills at the same time. But, the fact that some comments were being made, I'm actually trying to find what the heck he actually said, because I've got more ads and actual article I'm actually looking at right now. This thing is a nightmare to look at. Here it is. To answer your first question, never actually discussed or went over anything as far as my past with Minnesota. Never actually said anything. So when you said that, that's why I was a little taken aback. But this is a new situation. I can say happy. There was no right or wrong problems fixed here or something to be replaced from my old situation. I have a lot of respect for the Vikings at the time of the trade happened. You kind of have to look at for what it is, but I never really was vocal about what I did or didn't like in Minnesota. So, absurd or approved, Stefon Diggs' comments about the Vikings from this past week.
Well, this was a good one, and I feel like this one definitely deserves to be a top one, especially for a MinneZona Sports Live, especially when DJ Matty C said the Diggs would not be traded, and of course that happened. He was traded. He was absolutely traded. Now, I'm going to break this down because what he said, there's a lot to unpack here, because he said I never actually discussed or went over anything as far as my past with Minnesota. Right, he hasn't said anything. But cryptic tweets say a lot now, apparently, with Diggsy. And I never actually said anything, so when he said that, that's why I was a little taken aback. But this is a new situation. I can say I'm excited. There's no right or wrong problems to be fixed here or something to be replaced from my old situation. I have a lot of respect for the Minnesota Vikings. Okay. And I think a lot of fans, appreciate that. At the time the trade happened, you kind of have to look at it for what it is, but I never was really vocal about what I did or didn't like in Minnesota. Now, there are a couple things here. And the one thing that I feel like is I think Diggs needed to he needed to be open with people. And I'm going to get to this in a second because Hunt's brought this up first. I don't disagree with him totally. What wide receiver wants to be in a run-heavy offense? Well, that's true. We get that. I'm gonna get back to that in a second because I think that needs to be addressed as well. Diggs was missing practices in October. Okay, obviously he's unhappy. I don't know what happens behind the scenes. I don't know. Okay, but here's what I want to put together for you: is that if you're skipping practices, obviously you're unhappy and saying, "Oh, I was sick. I just didn't tell anybody." He did say that this past year when he was with us, and no, you weren't. You just didn't want to show up because you weren't satisfied with what happened. Okay, and he tweeted, it's time for a new beginning. I'm super excited for my situation. I mean, he's tweeting with fans and things like that, and he obviously he wants out, and he takes everything Vikings off his Instagram, stuff like that, and. He's making comments when he goes to that press conference and he goes, I can't sit up here and act like everything is okay because it's obviously not. There's truth to all rumors and all these cryptic tweets and all that. Okay, now, he thinks, and this is what he thought. He thinks that the Vikings were trying to hide something from him, saying like, we're not going to tell him that it's a run-heavy offense. Tell me this. How vocal was Zim about trying to run the ball more? Okay? I think he didn't like the fact that they were trying to use Dalvin more and use the run game and things like that. And I think he was a little peeved when DeFilippo went, because DeFilippo was kind of more focused on the Thielen and Diggs type of thing, okay? Now, it's kind of like a Jimmy Bucket situation. Yeah, but it's that went to a different level, Tyler. That went to a different level, and we're not going to get into buckets. But I want to finish this up by saying he should have known that going in. We've already talked about how good Thielen and Diggs were and why Zim wants to run the ball. He's been saying that ever since, when he got here and everything like that. He wants to run the ball to control the clock, control the game, and everything like that. And then Diggs is saying, well, they kind of lied to me about it. Like, they didn't lie to you. Well, I mean, what's the disconnect here? They didn't lie to Diggs at all. And Diggs is taking this to I think there's something behind this. And that's the issue with it, Voldy, is that there's something behind this whole thing. And after that Chicago game, and, Thielen was hurt, but we kept going to him. He had a 1,000-yard season. He was scoring touchdowns at will. Diggs went off.
Right.
So, and then you're meaning to tell me that we should just keep passing a lot? And again, props to Diggs. I love Diggs forever, Minneapolis Miracle and everything like that. But I'm sorry, I got to say this is absurd because, Diggs, I think that you're just giving a BS reason and saying that, they were saying, hey, you're not that... You're not that important because it goes Dalvin, then Thielen, then you. No, that it goes all of us. I mean, the run-heavy, offense with Cook, and then you guys on the side. You guys had 1,000-yard seasons. I mean, what are you complaining about is my question. So, yeah, Voldy, I think it's absurd. What do you think?
I think it's absurd, too. I mean, honestly, if you wanted to give a real answer about what actually happened, something would have been said already, or somebody would have reported something, and then Diggs would have confirmed it. But nobody's saying anything, and that's what's driving me nuts about the whole situation. Where is the answer? In this day and age, there are no secrets anymore about anything. If we learned anything about sports, media, and, the way social media turns out, there are no secrets anymore. Lo and behold, everything's just aired out with dirty laundry. And the fact that with all these cryptic tweets that he was putting out at the end of last year and even going into this past offseason, well, it certainly worked out to the favor that, all parties were able to cut ties and move forward. I don't think the Vikings are too upset that they got Justin Jefferson and, Buffalo finally got themselves a decent wide receiver to actually do something with the football. Now it's just a whole, it's become petty is what has happened, and that nobody's actually saying anything. I think it's just absurd overall.
I agree, and I understand it was a run-heavy offense. You want the ball. That's what wide receivers want, the ball. But so does Adam Thielen. I mean, why would you be on... He said he was in a dark place, too. He was in a dark place. It's like, why would you be in a dark place when you have, a guy on the other side of you that has gone to bat for you on multiple occasions and has been a great teammate to you? Dalvin's been a great teammate to you. Kirk's been a great teammate to you. So what's the disconnect here? And that's my big thing. I think he wants to be more in a pass-heavy offense. But he should have known that before he put his name on the dotted line when he signed that contract extension, okay? That's just my opinion on it, but I'll still love Diggs. And again, it worked out for both teams. So, I think his comments are a little absurd, but that's just me. All right, next one, Voldy.
Yeah, we get this one from Cole Munson talking about the other two teams that should be going on right now. But at least one of them is actually getting their season started. That's the Timberwolves and the Minnesota Wild that should be playing right now. But unfortunately, they're not, and it's looking like early January for the start of the season. But basically, it's, absurd or prove the Wild and the Wolves will win half their games this year. Absurd or approved, DJ Matty C.
That's a great question because I think Stuffage asked that one as well. So we got kind of a combination.
Yeah,
here.
mishmash there.
Can we say neither? We can. You can.
Pretty much.
For the Wild, I would probably say they won't get to that point. So I don't think they'll get to a 500. And if they do, then great. I think that's a something to look back on and say, well, good. Now they're making, and I think you want to see progress with this team because
right.
I think it's not going to be fixed overnight. And Kaprizov's coming in, and I think they'll do good, but it won't be to a point where they're just amazing, like they're, like they're a team like the Blues or something like that who has played well, and the Bruins or something like that. But no, it's going to take time, and Guerin's has been doing a great job, but yeah, I don't think they're going to get to that point. The Wolves are a tough one because there's a lot of new pieces, and I feel like it's going to take them a little bit more time to gel a little bit. And who has a better chance? I would probably say the Wild because I feel like, with Parisi still around and Suter still around too, I mean, there's always that chance that they can be 500. But the Wild, I feel like have the better chance. I think it's just going to take some time before the pups, get gelled together. And again, I hope I'm proven wrong because, D'Lo, Rubio's back, Edwards, Cat, Okogie. They do have a talent. They do have a pretty talented team. They're very young for one. But again, let's see what happens. Their first 2 preseason games didn't go well, but we'll see what happens with the Wolves. But yeah, I can't see either team going up to 500 right away. So I think it's absurd that if they, get there. But if they get there, great. It's got my stamp of approval. But anyway, it's going to be interesting. Metz says the cutouts in the stands will play better defense than the Wolves.
Very true.
Defensively they haven't played well. They've had a lot of turnovers, I believe, as well. So if the Pups make the playoffs, Voldy does a 5-minute recap of their season. Are you taking that, Voldy?
I'll take that bet. I'll
Okay.
take Knutson's money.
Okay. This is recorded, so I have it on file here. That's good. Hunt says you're being generous about that, Mets. So there's that too. The West is too difficult. Yeah, I agree, Cole. West is too difficult for the Wolves to finish above 500. I'd take the Wild. Oh, even a guy like Cole is taking the Wild though for that. So, I got to take the Wild as well. Voldy, what do you think?
I'm taking the Wild, obviously, because you don't know what the schedule is yet. You don't know how the team's going to lay out, especially with the supposed divisions that they're going to be playing in, too. They don't have to play any of the teams out west that end up killing the Wild. You don't play Colorado. You don't play St. Louis, thank God. You don't play, other teams out west like Vegas. You don't play the Sharks. You don't play the Kings or whatever.
Nope.
You end up playing teams like Carolina, you end up playing Detroit, Chicago, some of the other teams that kind of make up Columbus, I think, in there, kind of like the Midwest over along the coastal line as well. I'd take the Wild in that. And looking at the Timberwolves schedule, obviously, the Lakers, the Clippers, Denver's a team that always beats up on the Timberwolves. Memphis is a team for some reason that's given the Wolves trouble.
Yeah.
Golden State, Oklahoma City. Then towards the later end of the year, you're playing a lot of East Coast teams. Toronto, Milwaukee, Chicago. You play Washington too. I'd be surprised to see if they do end up, obviously this is the quote, the first half of the schedule. And,
Right.
if they try to make all these games, I'd be very surprised they make 500, do the Timberwolves. But like Knutson said, if they do make the playoffs, I will be more than happy to talk about them for a good 5 minutes and, a nice little recap of the season. But I'll take Knutson's money anyway. But I'm taking the, pretty much the Wild the entire time. So.
Yeah, I think they have a better chance. We'll see what happens. But, hey, if both of them get over 500, that might be a little successful. So, hey, you
Exactly.
never know. All right, next one, Voldy.
Yeah, this one coming from Metzler on this one. Of course, unfortunately, we didn't get the chance to talk about this last week, but the Minnesota United Football Club made it all the way to the Western Conference Final, the MLS playoffs. First time that Minnesota United made it into got a playoff win. Not only that, but making it all the way to the Western Conference Finals, and unfortunately did fall in the second half of that contest. We're up 2-0 against the Seattle Sounders, but end up falling late in that second half of that contest, 3-2 against Seattle, which then did go on to the MLS final as well. So Metzler was actually posing the question, is Minnesota United a true Minnesota sport now after blowing a 2-goal lead in the Western Conference Finals?
Yes, stamp of approval, because there's something about Minnesota and sports and everything like that. You get your hopes up and they just crushes you. I'm looking at this right now. They're up to, it's the dreaded 2-goal lead. And not only is that in hockey, but also with soccer as well. I feel like if you're up 2-0, it's not a position you want to be in. I mean, it's just, for some reason, it just messes with whatever psyche anybody has. And again, of course, it's a Minnesota team. And not only is that they took on the Seattle Sounders. And, we've had bad luck against Seattle in the playoffs too. And of course, this is just so Minnesota. I mean, this is so Minnesota to be up 2-0 and just completely have the brakes fall off. And, they scored in the 89th minute, too. I'm just looking at it's just going on autoplay here. I mean, it's just, so frustrating. If you watch the game, United got all the calls, too. Just how it is with Minnesota sports. I hate it. With only 15 minutes left of regulation, too, that's just ugly. It is ugly. And again, there's a lot of, big Minnesota United zoners, okay? And I feel bad for them because it lingers into every sport now, which is just frustrating as you know what. And I'm watching them celebrate, and it's just, it hurts. It really hurts to watching that happen. So, yeah, stamp of approval on that being totally Minnesota sports in a nutshell. Voldy, what do you think?
I think going even into the playoffs for Minnesota United, obviously you go in with high expectations. I had no expectations for Minnesota United. Not only the fact that they get their first playoff win, then they went into the semifinals against Sporting KC, and they could never beat Sporting KC. Not only they did that, they ended up shutting out Sporting KC, I believe, off the top of my head, getting that win, then going to the Western Conference Final. And obviously, this is a big boost for the entire franchise, but, it's a true Minnesota sports moment. Up 2-0, and then end up blowing it in the second half to a team that's a perennial power in the Western Conference. And, you just move on and see what next season's got for them. But, things are looking up for the Minnesota United Football Club. So we'll see how things kind of shape up. But, yes, they are now finally a true Minnesota sports team. It's got my stamp of approval.
Welcome to the club. Hopefully they don't have a season like the Vikings did after 2009. So, that's another thing to make note of, too. So, yep, they're a Minnesota team. Welcome to the club. All right, next one, Voldy.
Well, this one was just kind of confirming suspicions that have been along for the last couple of seasons, and at least for this past season as well. The Cleveland Indians are no more. Now they're just Cleveland in need of a new name, because it was announced that the franchise will be transitioning away and dropping said moniker of the quote-unquote Indians this season. And, as it currently stands right now, they will be looking into a new name, but it's not going to be announced whether it's going to be this season or it looks like it's going into next season, that an official name. So we got ourselves a nice Washington football team situation going on right now. But it was confirmed by owner Paul Dolan, say that it is now time to retire said mascot of the Cleveland Indian that's been around for 105 years now at this point, going into the 2021 season it will be. They've been slowly getting away from the logo as well.
Yeah.
Last couple seasons, they've retired all Chief Wahoo paraphernalia that goes along with that. Absurd or approved of Cleveland getting rid of the Indians mascot?
Well, I mean, it depends on how you interpret it, and it's something to where there's people that look at it in a negative way. There's people that look at it in a positive way, and it's hard to choose a side with it and everything like that. But if they really feel deeply with the mascot, I feel like, I think it may be time to move on, because it just kind of seemed, it kind of seems like it's just one of those mascots which you kind of look at, you have to really look at it and say, I don't know if this is, discriminatory towards, Indians or anything like that, but you kind of look at it and kind of like, oh, okay, I can see where that's coming. But I do give them some credit here, because, for one, they're not going to have, we don't want to be the Cleveland baseball team or some interim name. Thank you for not doing that, because I just think with the whole name thing, Voldy, is just, it's like we want to make sure we do it right. And I get that from that aspect, but don't take 2 years like the stupid Washington football team to figure out a name. You can figure out a name. And here's an interesting one for you, Voldy. Is it time to bring back the Cleveland Spiders? There's a lot of people that are thinking of that, and I think that could be in consideration. But yeah, it's got my stamp of approval. I just think, if you're gonna get rid of it, just get rid of it, or get rid of, anything that resembles, with the Indians and whatnot, and they're going to stick with the name, but after 2021, then, they'll hopefully have that name ready. But, Mets is in agreement, too. Bring back the Spiders. So let's see what happens. But, Voldy, what do you think?
Yeah, I think it was just time. They've been, obviously when they started getting rid of the Chief Wahoo on the uniforms that they had been wearing with their caps and some of their plays as well, it was certainly time, too, for that to be coming up. And, obviously now the situation is, okay, now the rebranding process begins. Yep. Where do you go? Obviously the Cleveland Spiders is a big thing. Hopefully they don't come out as the Cleveland baseball team or the Cleveland baseball club that seems to be befitting of teams retiring mascots for the time being. Maybe they'll just be Cleveland. I don't know. We don't know until it actually all comes out. But, yeah, it's got my stamp of approval. It's been something that's kind of a more writing on the wall situation.
Yeah.
And, this was just now confirming all suspicions. And I'm just wondering who's going to be next now. Obviously, you lose the quote unquote Redskins, you lose the Indians. Like, who's going to be next? Is it going to be Florida State? Who's next? Honestly, who's going to be the next team that's going to have to fall on the axe and have to change their name?
Yeah, and you can put it any type of way you want and interpret it and whatnot, but nowadays you just gotta put everything into perspective and go from there. So Atlanta Braves, another one too. Hunt's just brought up as well.
Right, Braves. Yep.
So, but we'll see. I don't know. I'm interested to see what they'll name their team now. I think the Cleveland Spiders would be interesting, and I think I'd be for that. I think it's different. It's something that they, I believe, used before. So we'll see. I don't know. All right, last one, Voldy.
Yeah, this one's a little interesting one that came out the other day. It seems that CBS Sports and a favorite of our all childhoods, Nickelodeon, are going to be planning to come together for plans for on a Tuesday. The Kids Focus channel announced that they will be broadcasting an NFL wildcard game Sunday, January 10th, as the feed for Nickelodeon will be tailored towards younger audiences as compared to, say, maybe those watching on CBS and a CBS All Access. It's looking like that game could be somewhere between 1, 4, and also, the late game as well. But regardless, Nickelodeon's going to be simulcasting this game with CBS. Absurd or approved. The NFL and Nickelodeon coming together to broadcast this wild card game for the NFL.
Honestly, when you put this into the document, it's got my stamp of approval because I feel like, a lot of kids are, big fans of a lot of these players. And they want to see them play. And having it in... Now, this is what I was going to bring up, too. NFL is G-rated. The commentating is PG-13 at times. Yeah, that's true. So I think they got... Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, I mean, there's another... I mean, no sweet victory, no chance of me watching. There you go. I mean, who knows if SpongeBob's going to show up or whatnot, or favorite characters during the broadcast. I mean... If they're doing the simulcast, I mean, that's fine, but I believe that, I don't know who, I probably say Jim and Tony will be calling that game, so.
Well, it's actually, that's actually a good point that you brought up. It's actually going to be Noah Eagle, who's actually the voice of LA Clippers Iron Eagles kid, along with Nate Burleson and looks like Nickelodeon actress Gabrielle Nevaeh Green. I have no idea who that is.
Yeah, I have no clue.
Field reporter is going to be Lex Lumpkin. Sounds like a comic book character, but apparently those two are on the reboot of the show All That, which is a sham within itself that they brought back All That to begin with, because if there's no Amanda Bynes, All That is trash. It's trash, I tell you. No Kenan and Cal, it's all trash. Trash, I tell you.
But, yeah, I mean, well, the thing is they made the right decision in getting our guy, friend of MinneZona Sports Live, Nate Burleson. That is our guy, man. So, at least you got Nate Burleson on there. But I think it's going to be kind of interesting. Jimbo saying, hey, Lumpkin. We love that, Jimbo. But it's great that we have Nate Burleson in there and whatnot. But I don't know. It's oh, good Lord. Good. No Aikman. Otherwise, we'll have sex content on Nickelodeon.
Provocative.
Jeez, good Lord. But yeah, they'll keep it. They'll keep it GPG. I would imagine so. Yeah, it's got my stamp of approval. Voldy, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, this is just another cash grab for the NFL.
Yeah,
they're trying to grab the younger audience as well. Nickelodeon's going to air the SpongeBob Sports Pants countdown special before the game.
Oh, let's go!
30-minute show will be hosted by Denver Broncos linebacker Von Miller, and even features SpongeBob's best sports moments. What else you want to watch before a wild card game for the NFL? Obviously, they're trying to gear it more towards kids as well. And, they're just trying to obviously reach out to the younger audience while get some more money at the same time. When the whole season overall not getting as much money is the NFL. So,
yeah.
Is it absurd? No. Is it approved? Not really, but I'm going to say it's approved just because of the fact...
It's for the kids.
2020 can't get much weirder. And the fact this is going to happen in 2021, but we're talking about in 2020, therefore it still counts. So, I mean, it's crazy.
Yeah, it is crazy, but again, it's for the kids, as we like to say. So
it's for the kids!
Yeah, man, geez. But, I think it's a different aspect on things, and we'll see how it goes, so... But anyway, great job with ARA, Voldy, and here we got to get on to Shield's shoutouts. There's a lot of people that Shield is shouting out tonight. So why don't we get to it? It's time for some Shield shoutouts.
Shield shoutouts.
All right, Shield, who are you shouting out tonight?
Well, we do have to give a big Shield shout out to MinneZona Sports Live top fan Tyler Knutson and his buddies over at Crown Rental for helping us out and expanding the MinneZona Sports Live brand with window and bumper stickers coming soon to all of you as well. We got to get the proofs in our hands before we can get them into your hands, but be sure to keep looking out. You can check out pictures right now on our Facebook page to see what is going to be coming your way. So a big Shield shout out to Tyler Knutson for the stickers as well. So we've got those coming here waiting in the wings as well. Shield shout out to Brainerd, Minnesota native, former Mayville State pitcher Nick Anderson, most recently with the Tampa Bay Rays, the American League champion Tampa Bay Rays, being named all MLB first team in a system that actually did come back this year, the all MLB team. So the reliever for the Tampa Bay Rays and Minnesota native named to the all MLB first team as a reliever, along with former Minnesota Twins pitcher Liam Hendricks, who is now the closer for the Oakland Athletics. A far cry when the Twins were trying to make him a starter all those years ago. Another story within itself. Shield shout-out goes out to Philadelphia Eagles quarterback Jalen Hurts. Almost said Carson Wentz, but knew better of that. Jalen Hurts for notching his first NFL victory with a performance of going 17 for 30 for 167 yards and a touchdown, along with 18 rushes for 106 yards as well, in a victory for the Eagles over the New Orleans Saints as well. So a little bit of some good irony with that as well. Gophers running back Mohamed Ibrahim gets a Shield shout out this week, being named Big Ten running back of the year. First Gopher to win the honor as well, only playing in 6 games so far. Leads the team in attempts, yards, and touchdowns while finishing tied for second in yards per rush. Mohamed Ibrahim also in the running for the Doak Walker Award, the nation's top running back, as well, as he was named a finalist late last week. We do have to say rest in peace to country music singer and former minor league pitcher as well. Charlie Pride passed away over the weekend. He was a 2-time Negro League All-Star and was also country music's first major black star who did pass away on December 12th as well. Did not know that Charlie Pride played baseball, but he was one heck of a country singer and another legend lost in the year of 2020. Speaking of the Negro Leagues and Major League Baseball, it was announced today alone, Major League Baseball will now be incorporating the records set in the Negro Leagues and elevating them to Major League status as well, in a statement and a move that was made has been long overdue. Some of the best players of all time coming out of the Negro Leagues. You get the guys like, you get Cool Papa Bell, Satchel Paige, Jackie Robinson, Buck O'Neal, players like that came through and transcended just because of the color of their skin, ended up playing a lot of their careers in the Negro Leagues and ended up being some of the best baseball players of all time that nobody ever really got to saw as well. But a nice move. It's something that's been long overdue, and a nice move again today by Major League Baseball. Finally today with our Shield shoutouts, do have to give a Shield shout out to my guy, Cam Schaefer, owner and proprietor of Sporty's Bar and Grill in downtown Madison, South Dakota. Did receive word today and a little bit of some messaging. Now, he'll be sending out a little bit of something that he's been cooking up here for the special holidays. And from what we've seen, from what I've seen on the socials medias, that he has created his own specific holiday T-shirts for his bar, and also featuring some of the lively staff since it is Christmas holiday season. He did have a Christmas themed shirt as well that he'll be sending over to me and Sarah. Can't tell you the amount of times we spent at Sporty's in our 2 years together, me 3 years out in South Dakota, but man, a lot of good memories, a lot of good people through Sporty's. But a big Shield shout out goes out to Cam Schaefer for sending us those Sporty's Christmas shirts. Still got to get him a shirt back to over him as well, and a fair trade as well, but still got to get him an XL MinneZona Sports Live shirt. Last time I checked, a little bit in short supply right now, but that'll do it for Shield shout outs this week.
We love it. Absolutely love it. We'll make sure that
and
sure
it's time
Jimbo's
for
already
Shield
on it.
Shout-outs. Ka-shing, ka-shing.
Ka-shing for some Shield shout-outs. And for one, I think, a lot of this is just stamp of approval all around, especially, Tyler Knutson, Crown Rental, getting us those bumper stickers, the window stickers too. I'm pretty stoked for all of these, and I can't wait to show the zoners. I can't wait to see it in general. So I think that's just going to be fantastic. But anyway, Voldy, great job with Shield Shoutouts as always, and we're going to move on to what other business we got. Oh yeah, I think we know. It's Q&A Thursdays. We're still doing it. We'll do it tomorrow, obviously, because why the heck not? So make sure you send in questions and whatnot, and we'll get to answer them. We've been pretty good about it. We're trying to remain a little consistent with it. Well, just throw us questions. We'll be ready to go.
It only works if they give us questions. That's how we can stay consistent.
Yeah, that's true. That's very much true. Throwing that out there. All right.
Help me to help you. That's how it works, people.
Help me help you. Exactly. So moving on to our next thing. Shirts. If you don't have your shirt yet, you should get it because it's very comfortable. It's only $20, $5 shipping. Talk to Jimbo, talk to me, talk to Shield, talk to the Kerf Doctor. And also a big shout out to the Kerf Doctor's sister, Kelsey Kerfman, for making this look awesome, the logo and everything. To put a lot of hard work into it, and we really appreciate it for Kelsey Kerfman putting in that going. Oh, now we have some breaking news now, Voldy. Jimbo says, taking order for sweatshirts, $40, $5 shipping. There we go. I know people want it. Okay? So make sure you talk to me.
It's a miracle.
There you go. You talk to me, you talk to Voldy, you talk to Jimbo, you talk to the Kerf Doctor. We're going to get you set up, okay? $40, $5 shipping for these bad boys, okay? So let's make sure that we do that as well.
There it is.
Shout out to our guy, Jimbo. Oh, we love Jimbo. But anyway, that is fantastic news. They're asking if we got a show Christmas Eve. Well, I think it's the 23rd, but you never know. Yeah.
7 days from now, Pi R squared, carry the 7.
Yep.
SoCatoa, 23rd.
Right. Yeah. So we're good to go on that. I think so. I should be around, so I think we should definitely get in on that. But it's funny that Tyler should mention that because speaking of stickers, W2 Performance, the Barbell nerds have stickers now. I believe I showed this last week, but if you haven't seen it now, here they are. Look at how fantastic these look, okay? I gotta put it on a water bottle or something just so people can check this out. But make sure you check out the Barbell Nerds podcast. They had a new episode come out, so make sure you check out Will Rattel, our guy. Even though he doesn't like the red pepper, it is what it is. But we'll get to that point. We'll change his mind. Yeah, we can. We definitely can. And then make sure you check out Jack O'Keefe's show, Jack's Junkyard. We were featured 2 weeks ago now or a week ago. I can't remember. So if you want to check that out, check out his page, like his page and everything like that. He does a great job with his show. We had a fun time talking with him and whatnot. So, yeah, I mean, pretty much there's a lot of things happening. We had the breaking news with Jimbo. We have Crown Rental coming in with stickers and everything. A lot of great things happening. And one more thing to add here too, Voldy. It is finally happening. Maddie C's flag is on its way, so I can put it in back here. It's been too long. I've been waiting too freaking long for that flag. It'll be back here before you know it, hopefully before Christmas, so I can show it here, on the December 23rd show. So we'll make sure we get it to you guys. So, but anyway, that was big news as well. But great show today, Voldy, and I think we're going to be back next week because, I'm going to be here, and then, I'll probably be heading home in the next couple days, so then after that, so, hey, it's going to be fun. But anyway, as always, folks, keep in the zone.
Holla!
Thank you for watching MinneZona Sports Live. Join us Wednesdays at 7 p.m. for live show broadcast. And as Voldy likes to say, follow us on all the socials medias.